now know 2 men living in Tampa were among the 10 people involved in yesterday's speedboat shooting in Cuba. Yesterday, people on board the boat opened fire on Cuban troops who then returned fire. 4 died and the other 6 are now in custody. Tonight, Cuban government officials calling the attack a terrorist attempt. News Channel's Marilyn Parker live in Tampa for us tonight. So Marilyn, we know one of the men was killed on the boat and the other was injured. What else do we know about them?
Well, they both frequented Casa Cuba in Tampa, and we're also told that to Cuban government officials, one of them was on a list shared with the United States as being wanted by Cuban authorities for their involvement in acts of terrorism. We're learning more about a deadly shootout in Cuba Wednesday involving a boat stolen from the Florida Keys. Cuban government officials say the boat was filled with assault rifles, Molotov cocktails, bulletproof vests, and monograms of counter-revolutionary terrorist organizations.
The Cuban government is willing to exchange information with the U.S. government on this matter. Among other requirements, we'll request information on those involved, the means used, and other details from the U.S. authorities through the mechanisms in place between the two countries.
According to a report filed with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Hector Cruz Correa is accused of stealing the boat. The report says the victim told deputies Correa has family in Cuba and he was trying to repair a large boat with twin motors, but the victim didn't know why he was trying to repair them. The Cuban government says Correa was one of 4 killed during the shootout. So is Michelle Ortega Casanova. Casa Cuba in Tampa says he was a member of the group and just visited them last week.
I know that he was always saying that the only way to make a change was through the arms, was through force. There was not, just by talking.
Another Casa Cuba member told 8 on Your Side, Liordan Cruz Gomez also lives in Tampa. He was injured on the boat and is in Cuban custody. The Cuban government says he was wanted by their authorities and placed on a list shared twice with the U.S. for his involvement in acts of terrorism. Cuba's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs says Cuba has been the victim of attacks and countless terrorist attacks for more than 60 years. Most of these have been organized, financed, and carried out from U.S. territory.
It is highly unusual that we have people being aggressors into Cuba with the U.S. registered vessel.
Chris Clem is a retired U.S. Border Patrol chief. He says U.S. investigators are likely looking into all the men on board with the hopes of learning if this attack could lead to something bigger.
This recent shooting is something that should remind us of how dynamic, geopolitical issues are, as well as our own border security right there in Florida. So this may be isolated, but it may be the beginning and could cause a ripple effect that we need to be prepared for.
Cuban officials say they're working to clarify the facts of this case and they're willing to work with the United States about the incident. Live in the Tampa newsroom, Marilyn Parker, 8 on Your Side.
A quick getaway turned dangerous for a Bay Area man vacationing in western Mexico.
Authorities say after the Mexican military killed a major cartel leader, retaliation erupted across parts of Jalisco. News Channel 8's Georgia MacArthur is live in Tampa with more tonight. Georgia.
Yeah, Stacy and Keith, I spoke to a Tampa man right before he boarded his flight to come back here to Tampa. He says what a relief it was to get to the airport. As we know, the airport was shut down. There was even some chaos at the airport. And I also talked to a travel agent, and she is advising any residents who plan to travel abroad to have a backup plan. Smoke billowing in the sky and burned cars in the street. Raymond Garcia watched all of this from his hotel rooftop in Puerto Vallarta. He found himself surrounded by chaos when violence popped off across parts of Jalisco.
I received an alert from my hotel talking about stay inside.
Authorities say the chaos broke out after the Mexican military killed a major cartel leader, sparking violent retaliations. In total, more than 70 people died.
I was inhaling the smoke, but I was just kind of nervous, like what's going on here? What's going to happen? Just not sure what was going to happen next.
As he tried to leave the area, Garcia says he recorded what he saw along the way.
We saw buses, like there was a row of 3 buses that were burnt up. There were cars still burnt up, businesses that were burnt up. So we were just kind of like looking around in shock.
Once flights reopened, Garcia says he headed to the airport, but delays and cancellations caused him to miss his connection in Dallas. forcing him to stay another night. Meanwhile, a Tampa-based travel agent says she also had a group that was supposed to arrive Monday but canceled their plans after seeing the news.
I would say definitely opt for travel insurance because even if it's a safe environment, you just never know what's going to happen.
And Garcia, I just spoke to Garcia. He says he was able to arrive here in Tampa this afternoon. Stacey.
So, Georgia, if people still want to travel to Mexico, are there any other safety steps they can take before they head that way?
Yeah, it was interesting enough, Stacey, as I learned from the travel agent that you can register your trip with the U.S. Department of the State. They have a program called STEP, which is the Smart Traveler Program, and that's when you can register your trip and you can get all the safety alerts you can while you're out of the country. Stacey?
Yeah, maybe good information if you're going anywhere out of the country.
A roofing company that sued more than 250 of its own customers faces a civil lawsuit from the Florida Attorney General's office, and now there is a new hurdle.
The AG has asked a Citrus County judge to step in and halt ongoing court cases that consumers are fighting against Florida roof specialists. 8 on Your Side consumer investigator Shannon Bankin joins us now to explain all of this.
Jen, Josh, consumers were thrilled when the AG announced this lawsuit in September, but they still face their own lawsuits that could lead to foreclosure. Now, this action, if approved by the judge, could bring them relief, at least temporarily. Dawn Donley is one of many homeowners who called me for help, saying Florida roof specialists assured them they would only have to pay their deductible for a new roof. In Dawn's case, the salesman wrote it on her contract.
It seemed too good to be true. I consider myself a smart person. Had family look at it and they're like, well, it says if all you have to pay is $2,500, that's in the contract. They have to go by that. I did not think $17,000 bill was coming.
The Florida Attorney General's office sued Jacksonville-based Florida roof specialists in September and its president, Jeremy S. Rogero, alleging a scheme that violates Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act. The lawsuit follows an investigation into more than 130 complaints and calls the roofers' liens frivolous and baseless and seeks to throw them out of court and deem the contracts they are based on unenforceable. Consumer attorney David Murray, who is not associated with this case, says the lawsuits could be a big win for homeowners.
What the lawsuit's seeking to do, if you read the wherefore clauses, they're seeking to shut down a bad business that's preying upon consumers in the state of Florida.
But as the lawsuit is making its way slowly through the court system, homeowners who could lose their houses to foreclosure to FRS have had to make tough choices. Some have settled cases. Others are still waiting in fear. Now the AG has filed a motion for temporary injunction that could help these homeowners. The order seeks to dissolve all existing foreclosure lawsuits, terminate liens, and stop the filing of new construction liens. The AG also added another company named to the lawsuit, Menorcan Construction Group. The two companies shared the same license number. Meanwhile, the defense has filed a motion to have the case dropped or to move the case from Citrus County to Duval County because that's where the company is headquartered.
I have so many questions, but what happens if your case is in limbo? Where does that leave you?
And so many people have been in limbo since the day that this was filed. Some homeowners tell me that they have settled because they've been afraid. Others say that they're still fighting their court cases, and now they're hoping that this AG motion will be heard soon and their case could possibly be one of those that's dropped. But attorneys tell me that if you do have pending cases, make sure that you are responding to the court in a timely manner. You could do this by hiring an attorney to represent you, or you could respond to the court yourself. Just don't ignore it.
It's so tricky, though, because you don't want to throw good money after the situation if there may be some resolution. So stay on this. All right. Thank you, Shannon.
Man accused of trying to kill a door-to-door salesman was in court today. Reginald McGee faces multiple charges, including attempted murder for a shooting incident last week. News Channel 8's Victoria Lucas joins us from the Hillsborough County Courthouse downtown with an update.
The defense asked the judge to consider a few things. The fact that McGee didn't run away from law enforcement during his arrest, that he just moved to the Tampa Bay area and is still seeking employment. But the judge pushed back and denied bond, saying that all of McGee's charges fall under dangerous crimes and she has to adhere to the public safety.
38-year-old Reginald McGee shaking his head with an eye roll, disagreeing with the Hillsborough County Court judge's ruling.
I do find that there is an extraordinary probability that if he is released, that he could potentially harm the community based upon the facts and circumstances.
Her ruling stemming from evidence presented from a shooting on February 18th around 8 at night in Brandon.
Both hands behind your lower back. Yes, sir. Right now. Yes, sir. All right, call.
According to court documents, it all started when an AT&T saleswoman says McGee was verbally aggressive with her after knocking on his door. She called her manager, Tyren Rice, who was also making rounds. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Detective Sarah Kirk says the two went across the street, but McGee followed them.
They both described him grabbing their lanyards and slapping them down, being verbally and physically aggressive.
McGee and Rice then get in a fight. Detective Kirk says Rice then sees McGee try to pull out a gun from his waist, so he punches him and runs away. That's when shots were fired.
We had 911 callers describing him hiding in the bushes. He knocked on the doors of several homes seeking safety. He ultimately lost consciousness on the doorway of another apartment trying to hide. He was struck at least 3 times.
Shortly after, paramedics meet Rice and immediately begin to treat him. We're told he was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries.
The judge also ruled that McGee is to have no contact with Rice and any other witnesses or victims in this case. In Tampa, Victoria Lucas, 8 on your side.
A 22-year-old Brandon woman stood before a judge to learn if she will receive bond or not. Elizabeth Martin is facing several charges, including vehicular homicide for a fatal crash that happened on January 24th along US 301. News Channel 8's Alessandra Young reports.
It was an emotional day in court as the defendant sat and listened to the details of the fatal crash. Now, in total, there were 3 cars involved and 1 person was killed.
He's wearing the orange jumpsuit in front of me.
22-year-old Elizabeth Martin is facing 8 charges, including vehicular homicide and DUI manslaughter. In the early hours of January 24th, Corporal Douglas Skye with FHP says there was a crash involving 3 vehicles along US 301 in the area of Harney Road in Hillsborough County. He says Martin's car crossed over the center line and hit a GMC Terrain head-on, which caused that car to catch fire. Unfortunately, he says not all of the victims survived the crash. Carol Gravely was killed.
She was a burnt, deceased person still trapped inside on the passenger side of the vehicle.
Her husband and the other driver of the 3rd vehicle were taken to the hospital for their injuries. Corporal Guy says Martin was already at the hospital when he arrived on scene, but she was interviewed at the hospital.
That she was a passenger in the vehicle, that she had just picked up one of 2 people, either a Paco or a Rico, at the 301 Bar and Grill in Tononasassa, and was traveling to her sister's house.
However, he says the evidence shows otherwise.
It showed that there was a driver only, no occupant on the passenger side.
He also said Martin's blood alcohol level was twice above the legal limit, to which the defense countered that she could have been given meds at the hospital.
You would have no personal knowledge about her state, whether she was under the influence of medications or anything related to that.
No.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Martin's sister took to the stand to share how her sister is not a danger to the community or flight risk, and shared how remorseful her sister is.
She said, "I just don't want the other family to feel mad that I am crying. They deserve to cry and not me. I just hope they see that I'm not a monster. Elizabeth is truly regretful and she wishes it was her every day."
In the end, the judge set her bond at over $100,000 for all of her charges. If Martin does bond out, the judge ruled that she is not allowed to drive, she will have a curfew, and is not allowed to leave Hillsborough County. In Tampa, I'm Alessandra Young, 8 on your side.
Tonight, a former television production teacher is behind bars accused of kissing a 17-year-old student. Officials say he taught at Leto High School in Hillsborough County. News Channel 8's Emmy Darkia joins us live in Ybor City, and she spoke to Leto High School parents and the sheriff's deputies. Emmy, what did they tell you?
General, the reaction that they both had was similar. They seemed anguished. And today in court, the suspect got a $21,000 bond.
It's absurd that the school accept these kind of teachers at the school.
33-year-old Gregory Cienadinos, a former television production teacher, had his first appearance this afternoon after being arrested by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of the student speaking up.
This is a concerning and disgusting case of an individual who used his authority to take advantage of a teenager who trusted him.
He is facing 2 felony charges for attempting to sell or distribute obscene material to a child and for soliciting or engaging in lewd conduct with a student. He is also facing a misdemeanor charge for battery.
Absolutamente.
I think it's absolutely terrible that a child was taken advantage of, and as a parent, it's painful, Maylin Mojena said. In a statement, the school district told us Mr. Sinadinos resigned his position and is no longer an employee of Hillsborough County Public Schools. He had been at Lido High School since August of 2024. In court, special conditions were added to Sinadinos' bond.
No contact with minors. There'll be no unsupervised contact with his 13-year-old child. Cannot return to Leto High School.
No contact with the victim, and in order to remain in Hillsborough County or Pinellas County.
The investigation is still ongoing, and the sheriff's office encourages any other victims to come forward. Parents tell us they are outraged this man was in the same building as their children.
I'm disappointed, talking with my daughter and, taking care about her. That's all it matters. I guess the school doesn't do anything about that because it's not the first time.
And according to the investigation, Sinadinos kissed the student, sent them an inappropriate photo, and then asked them to do the same. According to law enforcement, the parents are collaborating in the investigation.
Amy, before you go, I'm curious, were there any other details that stood out to you in court today?
Well, Jen, we learned that Sinadinos has a wife and a child.
All right, Emmy Darkia reporting live for us from Ybor City tonight. Thank you, Emmy.